Leadership is about to level up. Starting right now, we're going to build your clarity. We're going to strengthen your communication. Most importantly, we're going to expand your leadership confidence. So show up, learn, apply, and watch what happens when you commit to 30 days of leadership consistency.
Welcome to day 2 of this leadership momentum sprint. I really appreciate you for being a part of this training. If we've never met before, my name is Isaac Wambua. I'm the founder of a company called Dynamo Methods, and it's a leadership development company and small business systems. I do speaking. I write books as well. And this training is based on my latest book called Now That I'm a Manager, What Do I Do Next? So let's dive right into it. Yesterday, we went through day 1, which is all about figuring out how to lead up, down, and right across. And let's do a recap real quick. It was all about the leadership influence map. And I showed you how to lead the people underneath you. That's your team. The people right across, those are your peers. And how to influence people that are above you. That's your supervisor, your manager, your director. It doesn't matter the title, but there's someone who helps you to set your goals, or at least is holding you accountable for your goals and the targets that the company has given you. Right across, those are your peers that you're going to collaborate with to help you accomplish your team goals faster, and your team are working with you to move forward. So that's what we did yesterday. And today we are going to handle a subject very close to the one we did yesterday. Just to give you a heads up, these lessons are building up on each other. We are starting a little bit slow. And for those who want to move faster, if you are watching this way after we've recorded it, then you can just binge watch all the 30 lessons at once. But if you are watching this as we record them, then definitely there's going to be a little bit of a wait. But there's a logic behind it. And the way they are building up on each other is starting out from the basics, which is understanding your role and your position as a middle manager, and how strong that role is. Through my research as I was writing my book, Now That I'm a Manager, What Do I Do Next? I came across very interesting information. And part of it is that middle managers hold a lot of power. And I'm not talking about the bad kind of power, it's the influence. They get to grab the information and the vision from the top management. They have to understand it first for themselves. They digest that information, or at least they should digest it, and then pass it on to their team in ways that are easy for them to understand without losing the weight and the intensity of the message. And then they are supposed to support their employees. So they grab information from their team, they have to digest it and then pass it on to the top management in a precise way without losing the weight of that particular message. So, if not anything else, middle managers are expected, and they should be, great communicators. They should be able to interpret the vision from the top management. They should also be able to interpret the message from their team and pass it on to the top management. So, the role that you're playing as a middle management leader is very, very crucial. So let's get to the training. And again, these trainings are going to be about 20, 25 minutes max. There's a worksheet that you're going to be using, and all those worksheets are going to be put together in form of a workbook. So if you're watching this again after we've done all the recording, you'll be able to get one solid workbook that you can download and use for your team. I'm doing this training for free. It's not costing you anything, no opt-ins, nothing. And you might be like, why do I want to do this for free? And the reason being, I've been in your shoes. I told this story yesterday that my very first job right after college was as an assistant production manager in a manufacturing company. And I was given 65 people to lead. Big mistake. The company was convinced I could do it because I had a degree. I was convinced I could do it because I had a degree and I thought I was a smart guy. But just 2 weeks into the position, I couldn't do it anymore. So I quit that job. And as a good employee, I blamed the company for my failure. And I went to another company. I faced similar problems, way more intense problems. And I decided I would never be a leader. So I stepped back, went back to engineering, and I said, that's all I want to do. And it wasn't until many years later that I was offered a position when I was doing my master's degree as an assistant manager in a different company here in the United States. And I took it on, and I'm glad that I took that chance. One of the reasons I'm doing this training for free is because I've been in your shoes. I want to give you that resource. And I've listened to people, I've heard different stories on how managers get to struggle, and even senior leaders as well. But for this next 30 days, these 30 lessons, they're all focused on you. the middle management leader. So let's get to the training. Day 2 is sphere map. Yesterday, we talked about how to lead up and down and using the sphere of influence. And there's a graphic that you'll be able to look at it to give you a very good visual. But today is all about knowing your influence landscape. Yesterday was about understanding your role as a middle management leader and how you can influence up, down, and right across. If you want to follow along, you can download the worksheet. Just scan this QR code. You'll be able to download that worksheet on your computer or just use it on your phone. So, what is fear mapping? This is a clarity tool to identify who you influenced, organized into up, across, and down. Now, yesterday we talked about the what. Today is about the how. We said that people that are above you, your directors, your supervisors, your senior executives, they get to set your targets and your goals. And sometimes you collaborate with them, sometimes they just give you those targets. The people right across need to align with you so you can move towards the same direction. They might be running different departments. You might be running a marketing department, maybe they're running a sales department, operations, or you might be in the same department but running different functions of that particular department. So you need to be aligned with them so you can roar towards the same direction, because for any company, really, it doesn't matter which industry you are in, we need to move towards the same direction so we can accomplish our goals a little bit faster and with less stress. So the sphere mapping is a tool we use to be able to identify who you truly influence, whether it's up, down, or right across. Sphere mapping is going to help you move from reactive management to intentional leadership. I don't know about you, but when I used to do management, that was more than, 12 years ago. So I did engineering for many years and I was a manager. Then I got into business in 2014. So we are talking about 11 and a half years ago. When I was a manager, I would find myself just reacting to situations. I worked with a team that initially was not very reliable. So I was the first one to get there, the last one to leave, stepping in to pick up the slack if someone didn't show up or they were behind on their targets. So it was kind of really crazy. And then I would get a call from my boss and they're asking for something or I need to go to a meeting. It was just very reactive. So when you map out your sphere of influence, you get to move from reactive management to intentional leadership. And I'll show you here in a second how that works. This particular tool and this process is going to reveal your communication priorities. At any given point, any given day, there are going to be priorities that you need to focus on. And this could be priorities based on what's happening in the business. So let's say you have a major project that you're working on. So this is December of 2025. And most of the companies push really hard to finish the year strong, or they spend time to plan for the following year. So maybe your company is sitting down and coming up with a strategic plan for 2026. Most likely the focus is how can we make this plan doable? How can we make it work? Who is going to do what? What are the roles? What are the responsibilities? What are the skills that we need? What kind of gaps do we have? So most likely that's going to be the conversation that's happening in December of 2020. So that means with the communication, you're going to get that communication from from the top management, and then you have to cascade that message to your team. You go to your team and you communicate with them. This is what we are focusing on for the next 30 days. This is what we are going to focus on in 2026. This is the kind of support I need from you. These are the kind of trainings I'm going to take you through. So the communication priorities are going to depend on what you're focusing on. If you are collaborating with colleagues, that means you are influencing right across, then there needs to be an alignment. This is what we heard from our top management. Again, it's all about getting aligned with the people that are working with you. So communication priorities is going to be a big thing. There are three spheres which we talked about yesterday. Number one, again, is leading up, leading right across, and leading down. And you, as a middle manager, you're going to be in the middle. Basically, the middle leadership is multi directional. That means you influence up. And from a very basic perspective, and I learned this from one of my mentors, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. That's from John Maxwell. And influence in my world is all about finding a way to get people to do what they're supposed to do or what they promise to do willingly and within the time frame that you agreed on. It's not about muscling people or forcing them to do things, and that has its place and maybe it used to work a long time ago. I don't think it works anymore. From my observation, muscle management doesn't work anymore, and it shouldn't really. exist anywhere. It's all about building good connections and good relationship with people so you can get good performance, but at the same time, get to relate with them. So influencing up is all about the leaders you support. Yes, you have a docket, you have a department, or you have a team that you're leading, but you have your manager or your director or your leader who is going to support you with that. But you also support them in their goals. If someone is a regional director, they have targets and goals that they have been given by the CEO or the president, and they need your help. So you need to support them. And one of the best ways to support your leader is to make sure your team performs at the highest level possible. I'll tell you a quick story. Last year in 2024, I got hired by a major company, and we are talking about multi-billion-dollar company. And they asked me to speak to their new employees, and these were relatively new graduates from college. And what they wanted me to talk about was getting them to build self confidence and learning how to build influence within the circles that they are in. Because when you think about a big company that has hundreds and thousands of employees, it's possible that someone is likely to be lost in the mix where they're not sure, I have my team, or at least I have my colleagues and I have my manager, but I've never met the CEO, or met them, but we've never really had a conversation. So what they were trying to do is to make sure every employee is comfortable in their own space. So they brought me in to do the training with the different departments. And what we talked about is how to build your influence within the company that you are at. And if one of your goals is to be known by the CEO or the senior executives, or just be known in the company, what I shared with them is that the fastest way and the most effective way, and to an extent, very sustainable way, is becoming a high performer. When you become a high performer, people are going to know about you. Because I don't know whether your company has told you, but if they haven't, I'm going to tell you. We talk about our team members all the time. When I personally sit down with my management team, I want to talk about who is doing what. Okay. How is the performance in this particular department? Is the marketing department doing well? Are the operations doing well? The technology. So the senior leaders in your company get to have those discussions. And they usually know which departments are not doing well, or they can look at the trends. They see in the numbers. The last 6 months, it's been either flat or it's growing steadily, and then all of a sudden potentially they see a spike in terms of performance, and that's going to catch their attention. They're going to ask, what happened here? And most likely your manager is going to say, oh, we have this guy called John. We hired him 6 months ago, and John has been doing very well. So all of a sudden the VP knows who you are, the CEO knows who you are. I know that's not your goal, but the easiest way to build influence is becoming a high performer. For you to become a high performer, you got to develop some skills. You got to work really hard sometimes, even outside of your working hours. I'm not asking you to overwork yourself, but that's the truth of the matter. You need to develop yourself, read books, listen to podcasts, come to trainings like this. For you to be able to influence up, you need to become a high performer. The next thing is to influence across, and that's your peers and your partners. These are people in different departments, or people that are working in the same team, but they perform different functions. You should be able to influence them. And again, one of the best ways to influence people, even right across, is becoming reliable, becoming someone who can be counted upon, being able to do what you said you're going to do, becoming the most helpful person in your team and the most helpful person in your department. And the last one is being able to influence down. These are your direct reports and support staff. The best way to become influential, highly influential with your team, is being reliable, is being able to keep your word, is being able to provide resources to them, and also being their biggest cheerleader. If you have someone that you hired, let's say 2, 3 months ago, they might have experience in your industry, they might have worked in other companies, but the moment they join your team, they're trying to get their feet wet. They're not sure, how do you do this? What's the culture in this particular team? How do they do things? So they're likely to be a little bit confused and overwhelmed. And you can imagine if you, as a leader, show up and say, hey, John, thank you for being a part of the team. I'm here to support you. I'm going to provide the resources. I'm going to send you to this training. I have this book for you to read. I'm going to assign you to someone called Janet, who is going to be your mentor within the team. I mean, those are things that happen within companies. So you need to become the most supportive person with your team, and that's how you get influence. Obviously, you need to know what you're talking about, and you need to be not necessarily the most knowledgeable person, but you need to be the most resourceful person to your team. Like I said, we have a workbook that we're going to be working on. And before I tell you what your main focus is going to be for today, let me show you the workbook that we have. I showed you the 3 spheres of influence. That's what we covered yesterday. And then section number 1 is influence up, leaders you support. List the directors, supervisors, or executives who would depend on your clarity, updates, or escalations. Just list them down. The second section is to influence across your peers and partners. You need to list colleagues in other departments, cross functional partners, or collaborators who rely on communication or alignment with you. Again, if you're running a major department, it's going to be other department heads. If you're running a team, if you're a team leader, it's going to be other team leaders. And you might be able to work with people in other departments. It all depends on how your company is set up. But there's always going to be someone you need to collaborate with. The third section is about influencing down. These are your direct reports and support team. You need to list the individuals or roles who depend on your direction, expectations, and consistency. Yesterday, I said one of the best things you can do for your team is to provide clarity. Whatever you are sharing with them, whatever you are asking them to do, if it's not clear in your head, it's going to be confusion and chaos in their heads. That's the truth. So it needs to be very, very clear to you. Just this morning, I scheduled a meeting with 3 of my team members. So there's someone who is in charge of operations and they run the back end. And we have someone who is in charge of social media and posting and being able to take care of videos like these. And then we have someone who is in charge of technology. So we had a meeting this morning. And as I was preparing for the meeting, I wrote down several things on my notebook and I was like, okay, what is it we need to discuss about? And it hit me that a lot of these things that were kind of clear in my head, but not very clear. So I had to sit down, slow down, and clarify them so that it doesn't confuse my team. And we were talking about clarifying the roles because depending on the size of your company, you'll find that people are playing different roles or at least performing different functions within a team. We have someone who is in charge of technology, but they also do some graphics once in a while. We have someone who's in charge of social media, but sometimes they manage my calendar when my assistant is not there. So we had to clarify those roles. The second thing we did was to look at the projects that we are working on for our clients and then the things that are happening. Like now, this month of December 2025, we are doing this leadership momentum sprint, which is 30 days of us doing this kind of trainings. And then in January, we have several other things as well. I just released this book that I told you about. Then we have another book coming out. So talking about all those things had to be clear in my head before I shared with my team. And I believe you need to do the same as well. Section 4 is all about your observations. What patterns do you notice? So when you go back to sections 1 to 3, you have the people that you are supporting, you have the people that you need to collaborate with and get aligned with, and you have the people that need your direction, expectations, consistency, and clarity. So what observations are you making? So which one is too long? Which one is too short? Which one is missing key people? And the reason you need to identify that is because you need to take action. If you find you have 5 people, and according to the targets or the goals that your company has given you, you need 8 people. That means you need to hire some people. You may not have the authority to get out there and hire people, but there must be someone who is in charge of it. Either you go to the human resource department or you talk to your boss and talk about, hey, I'm short-handed and I need 3 people before the beginning of the year. And then you come up with a plan. So basically, this information is not just for the sake of it. It's an exercise that goes to bring to the surface what's working and what's not working. And then you take action based on that. So your micro action is to decide which sphere up, across, or down has the largest number of people on your map. And then what does that tell you? What's the message? It's going to be different for each one of you. So in my case, if I have a lot of people right across that I need to collaborate with, I need to be really good with time management because all those people, or most of them, are going to ask for my time. They're going to ask to meet for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour here and there. So I have to be really good with time management. And part of it could be saying no to some of the meetings or negotiating. If it's a meeting that can be done virtually, then why have an in person meeting? If there's a meeting that can be done on a phone call, a 10-minute phone call, then we don't need to get on a Zoom call or Teams for those who use Microsoft or whichever platform you use for your meetings. So your focus for today is going to be to complete your sphere map. So you have a worksheet that you're going to use. list key people in each direction. We just went through that. Identify patterns or gaps, and then lead with intention based on your map. And that's the most important thing, is for you to lead with intention. So that's it for today. Let me just say this. I believe in what you do. I believe in you as a leader. I know the pain. I know the stress that comes with the role that you play. I know the expectations that are put on you. And I know sometimes people don't get to understand exactly what you do. And I know this because I went through all this. Like I mentioned, I was the first one to get to work, the last one to leave. And there's a time I worked for 90 hours a week. That was not healthy. It affected my health. I got sick. And that's not something I really wish for you. But if you learn how to lead well, how to influence up and right across and down, it's going to save you tons of time. And potentially, it's going to be about 5 to 10 hours a week, because you're going to be more organized. You'll be able to communicate clearly. So, as we go through these 30 days of training, just stick with it. Like I said, it's going to build up on each other. By the time you're done with these 30 days, you'll have enough momentum so you can accomplish the goals and get good results depending on the targets that the company has given you. But beyond that, you're going to become a better leader. And when you're a better leader, your people, and in this case, your team, get to have a good experience. They get to like you more, which I know that's not your goal, but it helps for you to be liked more. It helps you to relax. It helps you to get good results. But beyond that, you get to exploit your potential. So stick with this training. If you miss a day, that's okay. You can come back. But if you can stick with it and do it every single day, that's going to help you big time to build the momentum. Thank you for being a part of this training. I'll see you in the next lesson.